Mic check, 1 2 1 2. 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 What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. I'm about to start working on some footage that I shot over the weekend. The show was Code Orange, Vane, Twitching Tongues, and Kanashi in Philly. So I'm just getting a couple things ready, then we'll get this underway. If you're new to this stream, basically how it works is I literally sit here and live stream myself editing this footage. This is going to be not as involved as some of the other videos that I've done. Mostly that this was just a, well, first of all, if you can hear me, let me know. If not, speak up in the chat. Basically, this is a single camera shoot. I just had my one camera on stage left. And I had basically my typical ambient mic on my camera. I had an ambient mic in the back of the room. And I tried getting a soundboard feed, like a very basic stereo soundboard feed. Nothing crazy, nothing like, you know, so for like This Is Hardcore, I hire a sound engineer and basically we multi-track everything. And so we didn't do that for this. I basically tried getting a very basic stereo output feed from the board. It's a little blown out, so it's not great, but I think if I mix it in with the rest, it could sound pretty decent. So anyway, the general format for these live streams is, again, I am showing you, if you're looking at the screen, this is Adobe Premiere. This is what I basically edit in. And so you can basically watch me work in real time and you can get a sense of how these videos work. So a couple things. Jebasu is tuned in, asking, is this from the new tour? Yes. This was on Sunday night, I think. Sunday night in Philly. So this was day 2 of their tour. I think day 1 is in Boston. Caney Industries talking about Vane. Yeah, Vane's new album, Error Zone. If you haven't heard it, I highly recommend checking that out. I agree that might be album of the year. It's completely insane how good that is. So definitely check that out. So we'll be working on Code Orange and Vane first, and then I'll probably be moving on to Twitching Tongues and Kanashi. Again, the general format for the live streams is if you have any sort of questions or comments, leave them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to respond to people in between editing. But beyond that, I think we're ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'll play a little bit of the audio for you, just so you can get a sense of what I'm working with. Just to break things down a little bit, this blue track here is the video camera audio. So the audio the blue track is the audio and video coming from my camera. The track below that is the ambient mic that I typically have mounted on my camera. Below that is the stereo soundboard feed, and below that is the ambient mic from the front of house soundboard. So it's more of like a centered ambient mic. So I'm basically going to be attempting to do my best to mix all 3 together. And again, like the stereo board feed is very blown out, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. I'm basically using a Zoom digital audio recorder to do that through the XLR inputs, and for some reason, depending on the board, it just doesn't sound great. So I'm going to work with it to the best of my abilities, and we'll see how far we can get with it. David saying, yeah, so I guess this tour is hitting Detroit tonight, so I think Freedom was added. I just saw that on Jamie from Code Orange's Instagram, so that should be cool to see Freedom on that bill. I don't know how big. I don't know what venue they're playing at in Detroit. I've never been, so I have no idea, honestly. But in Philly, they played Union Transfer, which is a pretty big venue, well over 1,000 people. Were probably there. Big stage, really incredible production. So if you're able to catch this tour, I highly, highly recommend it. There was a guy coming in from, it was funny, he he's from Columbia, and he showed up at the he showed up to the show in Philly on Sunday, but I guess he's staying in Brooklyn or something. But he came down, and so he was there by himself, and we were talking to him after the show, and you know, the show ended at like 11:30, maybe 12. At 12:30, I was like packed up and ready to leave, and he was standing outside by himself, holding like all this like merch. He was holding like multiple Code Orange records and shirts and a copy of Vane's Error Zone and a bunch of other shit. And we were like, dude, do you have a place to stay? And he was like, no, he was basically planning on staying outside of the venue for 7 hours until his bus left back to New York at like 6 a.m. And not that that part of Philly is super unsafe, but it's just not a good idea to be outside like that. And plus, Philly, unlike New York, does go to sleep, so there weren't a lot of places for him to actually like hang out in after the show. So I told him, I was like, dude, just come with me, and you can just stay at my place. So he stayed with me that night, and it was really cool. But again, it was cool that he came from Columbia by way of New York to come to the show, and he said it was his first time seeing Code Orange and Vane, and he was actually super blown away by it. So that's just my pitch. If you're able to catch this tour, I highly recommend it. Kids from all over are just traveling to the nearest show to check it out. Yeah, Colombian dude does sound legendary. He was super nice, and he said he's coming back down for This Is Hardcore. Yeah, so it definitely put things in perspective, because like I live in Philly, and being in Philly, like we're spoiled with shows. There's multiple shows a week that I can hit up, or I can drive 2 hours north to go to New York, or 2 hours south to like Baltimore and DC. So we're definitely spoiled in this part of the country with shows, and so it always puts things in perspective when I run into someone who's traveling from so far away to catch bands that I see all the time. So it's cool to hear their experience. And I guess someone from Incendiary was tweeting that, like, you know, kids are driving like 20 some hours, because I guess Incendiary is doing like a mini Euro tour right now, and kids are coming up to them saying they've been driving like 20 plus hours to hit their tour. So it's cool. It's cool to see how global hardcore is, but also how dedicated people can be to coming out and supporting bands. So yeah, that's my spiel. If you're able to come to these shows, check them out. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a little bit of the audio. I'm going to toggle between them. So first I'll play maybe like 10, 20 seconds of my camera, or the camera audio, which is like blown out. Then I'll switch over to another 20 seconds of the ambient mic that I use. So typically that works pretty well, but at this venue, I typically have to stand next to the monitors, so it's always very loud on the right side, because I'm basically the monitors to my right, so the right channel is always very loud. Then I'll switch to a little bit from the board feed, and you'll hear how like crunchy and blown out it is. And then I'll switch to the back of the room EMA mic, and you can actually hear what that's like. I've already done a little bit of EQ on them. I might, just to bring up the highs and mids a little bit, so I might do some minor tweaks, but just to be clear, that's already been done. So I'm going to shut up and play a little bit of this, and we'll get started.
We are not running in a
All right, so hopefully you heard a little bit like what I was describing. So first of all, I almost never use the audio coming out of the camera. It's just way too blown out. It's not meant to be recording live shows this loud. So typically when people ask me about getting into filming live shows, I highly recommend getting a digital audio recorder. I've used a Zoom H4n. I'm currently using a Zoom H6. You can also use like a Tascam. Any sort of external mic is going to work much better than the internal microphone on a camera. So yeah, first one we're just not going to use at all. The second one isn't bad, but like I said, if you were listening closely, the right channel it's typically much higher, especially with like the kick drum and things like that. It really comes in the right channel and not so much on the left. And that's because where I'm standing, I'm literally standing to the left of the stage monitor, so the right side is going to be much louder. So typically what I'll do is I'll bring down the right channel just a little bit and bump up the left just to sort of even it out a little bit. Next, what you heard was the stereo soundboard feed. And again, it's mostly vocals and it's really crunchy. So I think if I use a little bit of that and sort of blend it in with the rest of the ambience, it'll sound decent. It'll add a little bit of like, you know, give a little bit of meat to the vocals, but I don't want it to overpower because like I said, it's blown out, and I don't want that to be coming through too loud on the final mix. Below that was the ambient mic, the ambient mic at the back of the room. So again, that's like the front of house soundboard. So it's basically the center of the room facing the stage. So that's actually going to sound probably pretty good. That's assuming no one was standing in front of it talking, because if someone is standing in front of it talking, then it might pick them up in between songs. So we'll scan through and see if that's the case, but I'm hoping it's not. So Mario's asking, you don't get recording directly from the mixer, it's all from the Zoom recorder. So yeah, so for like This Is Hardcore, and bigger shows, I will hire a sound engineer, and the sound engineer will come and bring his entire rig, and he'll do like a multi-track recording of like all 16 channels, and he'll mix and master everything. For everything else that's like a lower production video, I almost exclusively just use my ambient microphone. For a show like this, I sort of split the difference. I used an ambient mic, and I also tried using a separate Zoom recorder to get a stereo soundboard feed. And so I think it was I don't remember what kind of board they were using, but basically they gave me, so for certain venues have like a digital board, and I can literally plug in like a USB stick and get a really clear signal from that. But this show is at Union Transfer. They're not using a board that has USB out, so I was basically using the 2 XLR out from the board and plugging it directly into my Zoom recorder. So the general idea was that I would get a stereo soundboard feed from the board, obviously. I would get an ambient microphone, or sorry, an ambient recording from the back of the room, because the Zoom recorder allows you to record both XLR in and ambient. So I would have those 2 sources, and then I would have a third source from the other Zoom that's typically mounted on top of my camera. So 3 sources was basically the plan. So in this case, like I said, the stereo board is a little blown out, so I'm gonna have to make do with what I can. And actually, it doesn't sound bad just using the ambient, because like the show is so loud that it actually sounds pretty good. And a lot of people prefer using they prefer videos with just the ambient. It seems like some people hate the soundboard, some people love it. It's a very sort of mixed bag of responses to it. So I think for this stream, I'm gonna sit here and try to just find the right balance between everything. Like I said, I've already done a little bit of EQ. I'm probably gonna do a little bit more, but I'm gonna shut up and just start working more on sort of blending things. I'll do a little bit more of the EQ, and then I'm gonna adjust sort of the leveling of each source until we get it sort of right. Then we'll do a little bit of compression and see where that takes us. As always, full disclosure, I am not an audio engineer. Everything that I do is self-taught, so if you're an audio engineer and you're watching this, you might be cringing at certain points because what I'm doing might be wrong, but hey, I'm basically working with what I know how to do. So I don't claim to be an expert. So all I can hope for is I can get better with time and practice. So that's just my spiel. Anyway, let's get the ball rolling on this. Again, this is Code Orange. We're gonna work through this, see how far we get, then we'll switch over to Vane.
Let's go! Let's go! I need you, Leslie! I need you! Yeah! Let's go, Lord!
Cool, so that was like the first song. I basically, again, if you're watching, I did a little bit of, I'll pull it up here again. Basically doing a little bit of EQ. Again, if you're not familiar with any sort of editing, this is called Parametric it's Parametric Equalizer. Basically, it allows you to select certain frequencies. So if you're not familiar with any audio, very basic explanation is audio is, or sound consists of a collection of frequencies. You have high frequencies that are like, you know, high, like vocals, guitars are high end, low end is like bass and drums, things like that. So parametric EQ allows you to select a frequency, sort of frequency ranges, and you can sort of adjust the amplitude of each. So this curve here is showing what I've done. I've basically taken things in the high end, and I've bumped it up a little bit. I've bumped up the low end a little bit here, and sort of, you know, adjusted the mids kind of in the middle. So that's what EQ allows you to do. I was basically tweaking that because I want the audio to feel very much like you're in the room. So I like bumping up the high end and the mids so you feel like the presence of the room. I also did a little bit of, I applied a couple, basically a preset multiband compressor that enhances the low end, basically to give it a little bit more of a beefy sound. And again, what I'm working on right now is just the audio coming from the ambient mic on top of my camera. So that's the first one that I'm working on. Caney Industries is saying, isn't that Cody the Supergirl in the front? Yes, very observant. Cody was up front for most of the show. I don't know where in that video you saw her, but she's in here somewhere. I think when I pan over to the crowd, you can see her. Yeah, that's her right there. Well, that's her dad. That's her dad, Kaz. But yeah, if you look, she's up front. She was up front pretty much the whole show. Before the show, I actually met up with her, and she's starring in a music video for Wisdom in Chains, which should be coming out soon. So I was like an extra in the. I wasn't filming or producing the music video, but I was in the background. So Cody's like the main character in the music video. I was in the background as an extra. We filmed it in North Philly. We spent like hours doing it, and I'm excited to see it. Again, I'm not working on it, but someone else is. And I think this weekend, Wisdom is playing like they're doing a live set to do sort of the live aspect of the music video. So I think if you're in the area and you like Wisdom in Chains, check out their Facebook. I think they posted like the when and where. I can probably pull that up for you guys at some point, but actually I'll do that right now. They are playing at, let's see, where is it? Here we go. So Wisdom in Chains, the song is called Already Dead. They're doing a live video shoot at the Championship Bar in Trenton this Saturday at 1 p.m. So I highly if you want to be in a music video for Wisdom in Chains and you're in the area, hit that up. Yeah, so Cody is the main character in that. I'm like an extra. But yeah, basically after the show, she and her dad went to the Code Orange show, and she was up front. She's still playing bass, so if you haven't heard, we bought Cody a bass last summer, and she's already like teaching herself. Her dad is going to enroll her in her dad is going to enroll her in a School of Rock program pretty soon, so she'll be playing with kids her own age. But basically, she's been watching YouTube videos and teaching herself how to play bass, and she was just telling me, I won't spill the beans, but she just learned a pretty impressive song that she's going to post the clip soon. So add her on Instagram. It's Cody the Supergirl. I'm excited to see her start her own band in the near future. That'll be great. So someone's asking if I'm going to upload new stuff on YouTube of Code Orange. Yes. So I am editing Code Orange right now. Once this is edited, it will be up for release. So there's a link at the bottom. There's a link at the bottom of the stream. If you look below, it says, I guess it's to my right, hate5six.com/vote. Basically, all video releases are controlled by you, the viewers. So I don't decide when videos come out. That's up to you, the viewer. So click that link. There's more information about how to do that. But once this is edited, it will be added to that list. And viewers like you can vote for when you want it to come out. Mario is asking, where do I get this shit ton of video? Have I always been there? Yes, pretty much every video on the site I have filmed. If the video is from before 2007-ish, then it's a video that someone sent me to digitize. So earlier today, I posted a video from 2004. I did not film that. But basically, everything that I filmed, everything on the site since 2007 is something that I've filmed. So I travel a lot, and basically, I film multiple shows a week at this point. So it's a lot of work, but yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm pretty happy with where this ambient recording is at from this first microphone. I'm going to switch over to the ambient mic from the back of the room. We'll sort of do the same thing with that, and we'll go from there.
need more. Right here. More.
All right, so that is basically the that's the ambient mic from the back of the room. Sounds pretty even. Again, that microphone doesn't have the issue of, you know, it wasn't placed next to a monitor, so it's not, the right channel's not much louder than the left. It's pretty even. Again, it was dead center. It sounds pretty good. So I basically did a little bit of EQ and compression on that. Duke and Dama show is asking if I'm going to post Ghostmane. I said this on Twitter and Instagram. I was not allowed to film Ghostmane, so unfortunately that video will not be posted because I did not film it. Everything else was filmed. If you go down to, the link below, hate5six.com/vote, you can see everything that was filmed. And you can vote for what videos you want to see come up. New videos get released every day on hate5six. Usually 1, maybe 2 videos a day come out. What videos come out is determined by you, the viewers. So follow that link, and there's more information about how to vote and help decide what content is released every day. So I'm going to move on to the stereo board feed. Again, this is not great. It's mostly vocals and it's pretty blown out. But again, I'm going to be using just a little bit of it, so I'm not too upset about it. All things considered. So let's check that out.
I gotta see it right now. This is real now. What the fuck? That's right. I just sorry.
So that is what we're working with from the stereo feed. Again, like I said, it's very distorted, but once we blend it in, it should sound pretty decent. Mario's asking if I have any issues filming certain bands because of copyright. It's usually not copyright. Some bands just don't want to be filmed, or if they're not headlining the show, they don't want that, or they feel like they're not getting the reaction that they want. They don't want that documented and put out there. It's very rare that it's a copyright issue. It's mostly does the band want a video of their set in general. I'm also being asked if I'm doing any Warped Tour. I've never shot Warped Tour. I feel like Warped Tour is much harder to get permission to shoot. Bigger shows is actually difficult for me to get permission to film because venues have certain regulations. I feel like I would not have any luck. Unless a band invited me, I probably wouldn't have any luck approaching Warped Tour to shoot. So sometimes it's just incumbent on the bands to, if they want me to cover it, I need sort of them to help me get my foot in the door to do it. So it does get difficult at certain times to shoot certain bands if they're playing certain venues. So yeah, that's kind of some of the difficulty there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to start to, again, I've basically done EQ and compression on all three audio sources. I'm going to start I'm going to basically turn all the tracks on, and we're going to start blending them together and just see what we can come up with. I think that if it's mostly the ambient mics that are dominating with a little bit of the soundboard feed, it'll sound pretty good. At least is the best that we can expect coming from, given the circumstances of both the venue and the recording quality and everything. So yeah, next step is we're going to try to combine them. Let's do that right now.
Listen to me! Don't just listen to me! Fucking hear me! I don't care what you're into! I don't care why you walk through that door! When this kicks in, I need you to fucking move! I need you to move! For everybody that talks shit, but don't do nothing, and goes gone, 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 gone! Yeah! That's right!
All right, so I wasn't expecting this to happen, but so Goldman Code Orange's bassist. I don't know. I don't think something happened to the bass. I think he just dropped it and stage dove. I think someone. It might have been during Vane. No, during Twitching Tongues. I think the guitarist cut out, so he dropped his guitar and stage dove. But I think Goldman just did it out of sheer will. So I'm glad I caught that. He kind of just went for it. So this showed there was a barricade. It might have been maybe a couple feet. So it's not an impossible feat to clear that, but I think like he flips, right? I think he does a flip. Let's rewind it a little bit more. Yeah, I mean that's pretty impressive, I think. I've never stage dove over a barrier, so I can't really say, but to me that's impressive. I think that was the only stage dive he did. So yeah, so we're about, so this is like maybe, so Code Orange played like about a 50-minute set, maybe, let's see, yeah, about 48 minutes. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief sample. So what I've done is, again, I've done EQ and compression on all three audio sources, and I've basically, if you look at the left-hand screen, I've basically adjusted the leveling. So it's mostly the ambient mic. So as you can see, I have the two ambient mics much higher than the soundboard feed, and so I'm blending in just a little bit of the board feed again because it's mostly distorted, but it's adding just a little bit of beef to it. So I'm gonna keep it in there. One thing I'm gonna do is all of these changes that I'm making, so this is just a little bit of insight into my workflow, is I'll typically spend a lot of time on the headliner, or like the headliner and the co-headliner. And then typically what I do is I take the settings that I've done for those bands, I save them as a preset so that when I work on the openers, instead of working on them from scratch, I can apply the presets, because more or less the settings are gonna be the same. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to save these things as presets, and I'll apply them to the Vane video and do a little bit of adjustments on Vane. So that's what I'm gonna do now. While I'm doing that, I'll answer some questions. Duke and Dama shows asking if Twitching Tongues is on this. Yes, Twitching Tongues was on this. I think they're on the whole tour. So I did film them. I will be working on them very shortly. Cool. So yeah, I'm excited to get this video out. A lot of people have been asking for another Code Orange video. Code Orange videos are always in high demand, and so I'm glad I got to catch them on this tour. So I want to thank Code Orange for giving me the green light to shoot, because again, this venue I typically have to get permission from every band and the promoter and everything. But Code Orange was very gracious enough to make sure I was approved for the show. So cool. So what I'm doing is, if you look at the left-hand screen, I've done parametric EQ, channel volume adjustment, and multiband compression on the Zoom H6 recorder. Again, that's the ambient microphone coming from next to my camera. So I'm saving this as just a preset. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for the board feed. And then below that, we're going to do it. Save the settings for the the front of house ambient microphone. So there we go. I do want to make note of the leveling here. So let's see. So just a quick note, tomorrow I'm traveling to Tennessee. So this weekend, or the rest of this week and this weekend, I'm going to be shooting a bunch of shows in Tennessee and Alabama. It's my first time going down there. Thursday and Friday, it's day 1 and day 2 of a fest called Nameless Fest. I think this is Nameless Fest 4 or 5, maybe 6. I can't remember. And then Saturday I'm shooting a show in Alabama, and then Sunday I'm shooting this band Seraph the Light. They're playing their last show. It's friends of mine. They were in a band previous to this. They were in a band called Seraphim that released one of my favorite records on A389. They've sort of gone through a couple lineup changes and some minor sound changes, but they're playing their last show in Memphis on Sunday, so I'm going down to film that. So one of my plans is now that I'm trying to do hate5six full time by way of a Patreon campaign. So basically, viewers are encouraged to make small monthly donations to hate5six. So I can do this full time. Basically, I want to be able to film and edit videos every day, all day, and I want that to be my job. So I'm trying to do that with a Patreon. And so the plan is, as the Patreon program expands, I'll have more resources to literally travel to different parts of the country or different parts of the world and film bands that I've never filmed before. I think what's powerful about hate5six is that it's a growing platform where every day videos get posted, and every day bands of all sizes, whether it's a big band like Code Orange or it's a small band like Kanashi, they all get exposure on this very large platform that enables people all over the world to hear their music and connect with them, support them, or whatever. So I want to try taking hate5six to the next level by doing this full time and basically trying to allocate more of my time and resources to giving more bands the exposure that I think that they deserve. So if you want to help, if you A, want to help hate5six grow, and B, have a say in terms of what videos get released, in terms of what videos get produced, sign up for Patreon. There's a link below, and you'll get access to all that stuff. If you're a Patreon if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get to vote for what videos come out. You get to vote for what videos get multicammed. You get access to a private Discord server. So this is a private hate5six chat room, basically. So it's a chat room that's only available to Patreon subscribers. There's a place to talk about general bullshit. We can talk about breaking news here. You can talk about new videos, talk about new bands, record releases. You can ask for recommendations, place to talk about records and tapes and merch, place to promote upcoming shows, all sorts of things. So basically, the Discord server is a modern day chat room that's a way for people to meet and talk about all things music and hardcore and connect. So again, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get access to that, and you get access to all sorts of things. I'm starting to do band interviews, so you'll have exclusive access to interviews that I do with bands. So I'm trying to make the Patreon thing, 1, allow me to do things sustainably, and 2, also give people who support it perks. They get to have a say in terms of how hate5six is operated, and they get access to stuff that isn't going to be available to the public. So that's my pitch for today. If you care to sign up, please do so. Link is below. So we're gonna put the final touches to this video now. So what I'm gonna do is all the work that I just did was on this sequence called sequence2_synced. I'm basically dropping this into another sequence here. This is kind of like the final sequence, if you want to call it that. So this has like the opening intro. This was a drone shot that I took over Philly, which I'm going to use as the opening shot. And I'm probably going to apply one. Well, let's see. I might apply one last compressor over everything just to tie it all together, but essentially this is it. So let's, I'm gonna shut up and we'll wrap this one up and we'll move on. We'll move on to Vane after this. Cool. The last thing I'm going to do is a little bit of color correction. The lighting, I really like the lighting at the show. There's a lot of color changes and it's really bright. So I don't need to brighten it up too much, but I'm basically going to try to, I don't know, I'm going to play with the RGB curves. Again, if you're not familiar with this, this is a way of tweaking the different color ranges. So you can, if you're looking at the left-hand screen here, you can adjust the sort of intensity of the reds and greens and blues individually. This master track allows you to basically control the overall brightness of everything. So if I pull it up too high, obviously it gets blown out, and I don't want to do that. Too low, it makes it too dark. So like I said, the lighting was pretty good, so I don't want to do too much with the brightness. And I think that, you know, aesthetically the set had a lot of red, so I don't think I'm going to want to change. I don't want to deviate too much from that. So if I bump up the greens too much, it washes things out to like more of a yellow. If I pull it down, it sort of washes it out to more of like a pink, orangey kind of feel. So I'm probably just going to leave the greens roughly as is. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I'm going to do too much with this. I think that, generally speaking, the color is pretty good where they were. If this was like a DVD that I was working for or something, I might do, I might, you know, go into the Lumetri color panel here and actually fiddle with, well, I'll show you. We could apply some different kinds of presets, but I don't know if I want to go through the hassle of adjusting everything. Like, this looks cool, this preset, but it's gonna make everything look way too dark. Once I pan over to the crowd, you'll see that we're not gonna see much of the crowd at all, and I don't want that to be the case. So some of these presets look kind of cool. I don't know. Again, like, I want to retain as much of the sort of red, the reddish hue that they were going for. I want to retain as much of that as I can. But let's just check some of these. Again, see, like, that is, it crushes way too much of the black, and so we're losing a lot of just the stuff in the shadows, and I don't want that to be the case. So, and again, you can sort of, I could sit here and adjust like the intensity of it. Like, for example, if I select it, I can do a lot of, well, okay, it's showing up here on the left. I just don't know if I want to spend the time, because, like I said, this isn't for like a DVD. This is basically a quick edit that's going up for online consumption, and I don't know if it makes sense to really go through this whole process. But let's just, you know, just to humor me, I'm gonna go through and just see if there's anything else, anything that stands out as what I'd want to use. I might not, again, I might not bother, because the other issue is that if I apply one of these changes, it's gonna slow down the render time, and I don't want that to be the case. I want to have all this stuff rendered and ready to go within like an hour or two. So that said, I'm just only gonna fuck with the RGB. I'm not gonna fuck with any sort of sort of creative, using the Lumetri color panel to do anything else with it. So let's just get rid of this, and we will stick with just adjusting the RGB. So where are we at with this? Turn that back on. So really all I've done is I've brightened it up just a tad. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Because I feel with some of the older Code Orange videos I have, I went a little overboard with the color correction. So in general, I'm trying to kind of just be a little bit more minimalistic with respect to doing color correction. So let's just do something like this. Again, like I'm not doing a whole lot. I might bring down the greens and blues just to add a little bit of yellow back in. That might help with some of the skin tone. So here's like a decent shot. Where did it go? There we go. So, whoops. Before and after. Again, it's not much, but I think it brightens things up just a tad. So I'm probably going to go with something like this. I'm going to play a couple more seconds of it, and then we'll wrap this one up and move on to Vane. So that's it for Code Orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it up a little bit, and we're good to go. I have the opening fade in, the opening title screen, and we are good to go. I've saved all of the changes I made. I've saved as presets, so we're going to basically apply those to Vane and maybe do some minor tweaks, but we should be ready to go. I'm going to add this to my render queue. So this video, when it's all said and done, it's going to be about 3.5 gigs. So we're going to add this to the queue. And so that'll show up here in a second. Here we go. So this is my export queue. Basically, I'm going to be, once everything's edited, it's going to be added to this queue. And then I'm going to hit this green button, and it's going to go through the process of exporting everything, and that could take like an hour or two once everything's added. So we're going to close this, and we're going to move on to Vane. So let's see. We got 14 people still watching. So I think at the peak, I may have had 30 people in here. So we're down to, again, about 14, 15. So much love to everyone who's powering through this with me. Again, part of this live stream stuff is to show people the time and effort that goes into producing these videos. It's a lot of just sitting here in front of the computer and making a lot of quick or very small changes and doing that over and over again until things look right. So, what do we got here? Let's see. All right. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop all of the assets in. So this will take a second. So I'm going to drop in the video track, drop in all the audio sources. And then the first step is basically to sync everything. So I like to use this plugin called Pluralize. Pluralize will take all of the audio and video. It'll automatically sync everything. So it does a lot of the manual work for you. So I'm going to let that run. An update. I always forget. So above me, you'll see it says currently editing code orange. I always forget to update this, but I remembered now. I'm going to update this, say editing Vane. And there you go. Ready to go. So Pluralize is good. So basically what happened was before every set, I had to walk back to the soundboard and hit record. And then I had to walk back to the stage and then wait for the set to start. So the stereo mix and the front of house ambient mics are usually like a couple minutes longer than the rest. So Pluralize is going to basically handle syncing my camera and my ambient mic next to my camera to everything else. So I could do it by hand by listening to all the audio tracks and listening for like an opening, like, you know, count off on the sticks, the drummer sticks, or listening to like a cymbal crash and doing that. But Pluralize will do that for me, and it might, again, this takes like a minute or two, but I'd rather let this do its job than do it manually. So we're gonna let that go for a second. All right, so we're about 65% done. Should be done in a second. While that's going, I'll drop in the opening logo and everything. So this is one of those, like, it's a small thing. So every video opens up with like an opening screen and the band logo. It's a seemingly small thing, but tracking down band logos can be kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. Luckily, I've obviously have Film and Vein a bunch, so I already have their logo saved. So I'm basically gonna just import that here, and we are good to go. I'm gonna resize it just a little bit, center it, move it up, and then center this whole thing, and we're good to go. Cool. So 76%. Fuck. Candy Industries is asking what DVDs I've done. I've only done one DVD. I think I have a copy of it here somewhere. I did a hate5six DVD back in 2011. Let me find it real quick. This is the DVD I did. I did this in 2011. It is 240 minutes long. There's basically, it features Damnation, no, 108, Damnation AD, Iron Sheik, Pulling Teeth, Suicide File, Touche Amore, Black Kites, Give, Kid Dynamite, Ruiner, First Step, Trial, Converge, Have Heart, Mindset, Seraphim, Unbroken, and The Rival Mob. This is the only DVD I've done. DVDs are kind of a dying format. I know I did say that I will spend more time on a DVD. It's been a while. I know, so Converge used one of my videos for a DVD. I guess that was a bad example because I have not done a DVD and I'm probably not going to be doing one anytime soon. I should have said I will spend more time on a video if, I don't know, like, I don't have a good answer for you, honestly. If this was like a multicam video, if I had 3 or 4 cameras rolling for this, and if I had hired like a soundboard engineer, then I would spend much more time on the color correction, just because it's a higher end sort of product with it. What's up, Real Owl? Thanks for tuning in. I'm about to start working on Vein from this past Sunday night in Philly. I just worked on Code Orange, so yeah. If you're just tuning in, these live streams are archived, so you can go back and watch them. They will be available on the YouTube channel. Cool. So the pluralize is done syncing. So what I'm going to do is just chop this up. Just going to chop this up, and then we will begin work. So all right. Like I did, as I did before, I'll play all the audio stuff independently, and you'll get a feel for what they all sound like without any sort of editing. And then I'm gonna apply the presets that I created for Code Orange to the audio tracks here, and you'll hear the difference. Cool. If you're just tuning in, I'm working on Vane. Vane is on tour with Code Orange right now. Code Orange, Switching Tongues, yeah, this show was on Sunday night in Philly, and I just finished working on Code Orange, and I've beginning now to do Vane. What I'm doing is I'm basically fucking with the audio, trying to do some EQ on the 3 audio sources that I had. So just to recap, I had an ambient mic on stage. I had an ambient mic at the front of house mixing console, and I also have a very distorted but usable stereo soundboard feed. It's mostly vocals, but what I'm doing is I'm doing some EQ and compression on each audio track, just to get each one roughly where I want it, and then I'm spending time sort of working on the levels to get them situated where I think they should be. So as I said before, how this works is I'm showing you my editing process. The chat is open, so if you have any questions or comments, leave them in there, and I will stop intermittently to respond to people. But beyond that, yeah, this is basically just a way of showing people the type of work that's involved in producing these videos, and it's also a way for people to get like a sneak peek into what is coming up soon. Below on the bottom of the screen, you'll see 2 links. There's a link to the hate5six Patreon, and also hate5six.com/vote. So let me just show you real quick what that looks like. So that's this page here. Once you go to hate5six.com/vote, this shows you all the videos that are either ready to be released or are being edited. So videos that are green have been edited and they're not released, but they're ready to be released. Those are green videos. Red videos are videos that are being edited right now and that will be turning green soon. Yellow is I don't have permission to post the video yet. Pretty much the only yellow videos right now are Vane, but I'm pretty sure I have the okay to post them. So those will soon be red and green. How it works is you, the viewers, vote for what videos you want to see, and so every day 1 or 2 videos gets posted on hate5six, and I don't determine what videos get posted. It's up to you. It's completely up to you, the viewers. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can actually use this form to vote, and so every day the videos that have the most votes are the ones that get released. So this is determined completely by you, the viewers. So if you'd like to have a say in what videos come out, sign up. It's up to you. So I'm gonna keep working on this. I really like the end of this set. It was pretty chaotic. Like Anthony, the singer, like stage dove, and the whole set was crazy. So I'm really glad I got to see. I've seen Vane a bunch of times in smaller rooms, and I've seen them a couple times in bigger venues like this. And it's cool to see how well they're able to work the crowd in both contexts. So I'm going to keep hacking away at this. Again, what I'm doing is basically trying to get the audio roughly where I want it, and hopefully we'll find a good sweet spot with it, and we'll be ready to. So someone's asking why Vane was blocking the release of their sets. The only reason was they wanted Arizona to come out. So I have, well, including this video, I have 3 Vane sets in the queue. And so the issue with the other 2 was that, so they were from December and February. They played some new stuff from Arizona, and basically they didn't want, understandable, they didn't want the new songs out yet. So they had asked me to not post them yet. So now that Arizona is out, I think I'm technically allowed to post them. So I kind of I have an issue now where I have 3 Vane sets, and I don't want to post them all at once because that's not a good idea. So I have to figure out even though videos are mostly controlled by viewers in terms of what comes out, very so often I have to override it. So in this case, I might have to manually schedule when these come out, just so they're spaced properly. I don't want, if I post too much content from the same band in a short period of time, it just becomes too much content, and it hurts the band, and it hurts each video individually. So I'm gonna have to structure it so that each one gets as much love as possible. So I'm gonna release the holds very soon, and yeah, so you'll see them come out soon. So there's a couple other videos in the queue that are on hold. It's because I'm waiting for permission from the venue, and I'm waiting for a mix to come back from the venue, and it's like a whole fucking mess. So that's another show. Typically, it's very rare for a video to be on hold, but those are the main reasons. It's usually because a band wants to wait for either an album or a tour announcement, or I'm waiting for permission from the venue, or I'm waiting for a soundboard mix to come in. So those are typically the main reasons. But so yeah, hope that answers your question. Well, so I'm fairly happy with where the audio is. I might change the coloring a little bit. I just want to play with it, see what it's like. I sort of like having a little bit more of a greener tint to the Vane videos. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe it's because that's how I did the This Is Hardcore video, and I really like how that one came out. So I might sort of play with these settings just a little bit to see what it looks like. What I like about Vane is they always play just about like 20 minutes, and it's just enough. It's enough to make you want more. Like by the end of the set, you're like, "Fuck! I really wish they were playing like another 10 minutes." But I think it's smart on their end to keep people wanting more, and I think that's important for bands. It's important for bands to not, you know, I think it's a smart way of getting people to want more of your band. And especially with a band like Vane, like their live set is so intense that when you're there, you're so blown away that you're kind of hoping for more, and it makes you want to check them out again. So I respect that, because there's definitely certain bands that play way too long, and really, at least for me, it turns me off to wanting to see them again. So I think the smarter move is to play shorter sets, just for that very reason. So again, I'm not changing the coloring too much. Probably gonna stick with this, and we'll go with that. So I'll just, like, before and after, it's like not too noticeable, but I wanted to do just a little bit in roll with that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm gonna add the final fade out, and then we'll move on to twitching tongues after this.
Thank you. Thank you. Twitching Tongues is up next. Thank you so much.
Cool, that'll do it for Vane. Just gonna trim this up, and we will add it to the export queue. So again, this will show up here in the queue, and we'll move on to twitching tongues. Fuck, this always happens. Every now and then Premiere will like, my mouse will disappear. So I'm not seeing my cursor for some reason. So I have to close Premiere and then restart it. So give me 1 second. All right, so this should be the Twitching Tongues project. So step one, just dragging in all the elements, wait for that to import, and then we will go through the same process. So as you're watching it, you'll probably get a sense of like, there's a lot of video editing is just the same thing over and over again. Because I think that, because every now and then I'll get feedback from people saying, oh, I watched your live stream. I didn't know that's the amount of work that was involved. Thanks for tuning in, Candy Industries. I appreciate you, the feedback. And yeah, I'm trying to, I keep wanting to do more of these live streams, but scheduling wise, it's been difficult. But hopefully soon I'll find a nice groove and I'll be doing these much more often. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon. So everything's been imported. We're going to run pluralize. We'll sync this, and we will be good to go. While that's going, I'm going to just find the... I have a Twitching Tongues logo saved, so I'm going to pull that up. So let's see, where is it? So that's the logo I have saved. I don't know if that's their current logo. Let me see. Yeah, that looks like it. I'm pulling up the flyer for the Code Orange show. Bands, I mean, I prefer it and bands prefer when the current logo is used, so I like to make sure that everything is fairly up to date. Yeah, that looks like the most recent logo, so we will roll with this. So let's see. Cool. All right. Let's see, where are we at here? All right. I have a neighbor knocking on my door, so I'm going to answer that. While that's going, I'll play a little bit of this video just so you have something to watch. Let's see here. Oops. No. Cool. What's up? What's up? Slobodan from Serbia and Akshitja from, I don't know where you're from, but thanks for tuning in. Right now I'm working on Twitching Tongues. The show was on Sunday night in Philly with Code Orange and Vane. If you're just tuning in, I just finished working on Code Orange and Vane, unfortunately. But this stream will be available later on. So if you want to watch me work on those videos, you can tune back in and watch it. So those videos will be rendered and they'll be exported and added to the queue later tonight. If you go down to hate5six.com/vote, the link at the bottom, you can vote for which videos you want to see released. So every day 1 or 2 videos gets released, and which videos come out is determined by you, the viewer. So hit that link. So again, I'm working on Twitching Tongues right now. I'm basically fucking with the audio, doing some EQ and compression and just general leveling, and trying to get everything to roughly where I want it. And yeah, let's keep going.
For death, I can only choose to accept.
John speak. Thank you so much for Twitter John speak. Thank you so much for Twitter John speak. So much for Twitter John speak. After this is hardcore chicken, motherfuckers.
All right, let's keep going. There's one more video from this show, which was Kaonashi. I think I'm mispronouncing it. I think it's Kaonashi. I don't know. I always get it wrong. But they are a Philly band. I've only seen them one other time, so it's cool to get them on a bigger show like this. So let's cue this up, and we will. Let's see. I believe the board feed from their set is, so they were the first band. There may have been some sound issues at the beginning, so their stereo board feed might just be completely unusable. We'll see. Extensions. Again, we'll want to pluralize on this, let it do its syncing thing, and then we'll be good to go. What's up? We got Feet First Productions tuned in. I'm assuming it's Jeff. If you guys don't know, Feet First Productions is based out of the Wilkes-Barre area. It's Jeff and gosh, I've been doing this so fucking. I'm way too tired to be doing this right now. Jeff and Andy are the two guys that run Feet First. So they just posted a video of Vane. So I guess Vane played in Wilkes-Barre. I just saw it on Twitter. Where was it? Vane played. Oh, it's Andy tuned in. Okay, shit. Yeah, so Vane played at the other side on Monday night. I think it's in Wilkes-Barre. I'm going to post the link in the chat. I think those guys posted the video today. So check that out. I watched a couple minutes. I watched like a few seconds of it when it came out. I wanted to sit down and watch the rest. It looked pretty crazy. I think you guys had 2, maybe 3 angles running. But, whoops. Where did it go? Copy link. Cool. So I just posted a link in the chat. That'll take you to Twitter, which I think it should have the link to the YouTube video. Be sure to follow them. Those guys do really great work. They film a lot of stuff outside of hardcore. They film like a lot of like pop and indie rock stuff that I would wish I had the time to shoot, but I don't have the time or resources to do it. So those guys are really good at getting a diverse mix of shows on their channel. So check out their stuff, give them a follow, and show them some love because they are really doing great work. So again, if you're just tuning in, I've finished working on Code Orange and Vane and Twitching Tongues from Sunday night in Philly. This was night 2 of their of Code Orange's new tour, and I'm about to work on Kaunashi's set. They were the opening band, they're a Philly local band, and open up the show. Oh, okay, it is Jeff. Sorry, it's Jeff who tuned in. Yeah, so they had 2 angles running. Yeah, so check that out. As soon as I'm done on the stream, I'm probably gonna make some dinner and watch some of their Vane video because, like I said, those guys are really busting their ass and covering a lot of good shit. So, I was looking on Twitter. It seems like people on Twitter are really excited about the video. One guy was like, "This is the best." He said it was the best Vane set ever. So I'm excited to actually. I've never seen a bad Vane set, so I can't really say if it was the best, but I'm sure it was really fucking good. So I'm gonna check that one out. So I'm waiting for this audio to sync. I was telling everyone earlier that so for this shoot, obviously this is at Union Transfer. I had 3 audio sources running. I had my ambient mic on my ambient Zoom H6 on my camera. I had the Zoom H4n at the back of the house by the soundboard, and I had a very, unfortunately, distorted soundboard stereo mix coming out. So I've basically been trying to find the right mix of all 3 for these videos. So Jeff is saying it was honestly one of the craziest sets he's ever filmed. So if Jeff is saying that, then I know there's got to be some truth to it, because Jeff has seen a lot and Jeff has filmed a lot. So if Jeff is saying it's one of the craziest things, then I got to take his word for it. So I'm definitely going to be checking that one out. It's interesting. I was saying this earlier, like I've seen Vane in small rooms and big rooms, and they always kill it in both. And like, it's a different vibe for both. Obviously, like when there's a barricade versus when there's not a barricade. But it's always cool. As I said earlier, it's always cool to see how they manage to dominate the stage, regardless one of the crowd size and 2 of the stage size and whether there's a barricade or not. So from what I saw in that video, it looked like it was a small room, maybe like what 100, 200 people cap. Union Transfer was maybe 1,000 some people. So I'm curious to see. You know, the 2 shows were 2 nights apart, so I'm curious to see how well how they compare and contrast. And also how the response to the new songs of Arizona were. People at the Philly show were definitely vibing. I mean, they knew this stuff from Arizona and they were really going off for it. So, okay, so Jeff is saying there's 200 people. That's crazy. So, yeah, that's cool to hear. But yeah, I mean, Arizona came out like last week, so people are already eating it up, and you know, going off for it. So I think without a doubt, people are saying it's like album of the year, and I think they have a good chance of taking that. And already, like, we're only 6 months into 2018, and I think that, like, I don't know. I think it's gonna be hard to top Arizona at this point, but we'll see. I'm always pleasantly surprised, but I think we'll find out sooner than later. Yeah, so that was a mixed bill. The Philly show wasn't that much of. I mean, aside from Ghostman, it wasn't really a mixed bill. Oh, interesting. So Jeff is saying that Wiccaphase was the headliner. So I guess it was Wiccaphase, Vane, and a bunch of other bands that I never heard of before. So I'm assuming you filmed the whole thing. I'm assuming Feet First filmed the whole thing. So I'm excited to check out all of it and see really how the whole show was, because I think that I'm a big fan of shows that are mixed bill. I think it's important to introduce crowds to different styles of music. If you go to the show with the same sort of thing, then it really does. In my opinion, it does a disservice to the genre, because I think it's important for, like, I think of it from the perspective of a new kid. So a new kid coming to, you know, this Code Orange Vane show at Union Transfer, you know, it might be his first show, and if that's his first introduction to hardcore, all he's getting is, you know, he's getting really a very narrow look into what hardcore is. And I think if it's more of a mixed bill, like, I mean, I'm not dissing this tour at all, but I'm just saying that, like, if you were to go to a different show that has a very much like a diverse bill, he or she would get a much more larger picture of what hardcore has to offer, whether it's, like, you know, crowd killing with heavy mosh parts, or a lot of, like, you know, stuff with sing-alongs. I think it's important. For me personally, I like shows that are able to do, or able to offer the crowd that sort of diversity. Because I think, again, when it comes to new people coming into the scene, it's important for them to know that if what they're hearing isn't what they really like, that there is an alternative. There are alternatives out there that they should check out, or it might inspire them to create music that sounds like what it is that they're looking for. So that's just my spiel about show diversity in general. Gosh, I'm, like, waiting. Like, I love Pluralize. So Pluralize is what I used to do the syncing, but fuck, it can take forever. And I don't always know why. Sometimes if I restart Premiere, it'll take, like, a second to do. But sometimes it just, like, drags on forever. So we're just, like, hovering at 80-some% right now. So just waiting. All right. Just a quick plug. If you haven't checked it out yet, earlier tonight I posted, or actually earlier this morning, I posted a video of Shadows Fall from Hellfest 2004. It's a video that I edited over the course of the last couple of weeks, maybe like a week and a half. So it's 7 fucking angles. I've never edited 7 angles before, so that was kind of a pain in the ass, but I hope, I mean, I think a lot of the sets from Hellfest 04 are 7 angles, so I might have to keep doing that a couple more times. All right, Premiere crashed, so I'm going to reload it, and hopefully syncing will be a breeze now. We'll see. So, let's see. Cool. So let's try this again. Yeah, there you go. It's already at 75%. So while this is going, I'll play a little bit of the set just so you get a sense of what the band sounds like. if you're not familiar with that. There you go. Pluralize finished. As soon as I want to play a little sample for you, Pluralize decided to finish. Go figure. All right, so what I'm going to do is just I'm going to trim up the so the soundboard recording, the soundboard and house stereo feed, or no, the stuff that I recorded at the soundboard is much longer because I basically had to hit record, walk back to the stage, and then the set started a few minutes later. So I'm just trimming things up just so I don't have a huge lead in, and we can start working on this.
Every
Cool. So I'm pretty much with this. Whoops. Probably be getting a little bit of feedback on that. My apologies. Just adding in the final fade in. Cool. So that's it for today's editing spree. I think this stream must be going on for a couple hours now. But I'm gonna add this to my render queue, and then I'm gonna export all of them. Again, they'll be added to the link below, hate5six.com/vote. You'll see them on there. If you want to see these videos publicly posted, then you can go in there and vote. And the more votes that they have, the sooner they'll get released. So that's entirely up to you. I'm gonna hop off here in a second. Again, I'm headed to Tennessee and Alabama tomorrow for a couple days just to film a bunch of shit. So excited to get a bunch of new bands on the site. So I'll probably post some stuff on Instagram, maybe some stories here and there, just to give some people a glimpse of what's going on. But yeah, I'm excited to do that. So tomorrow through Saturday, I'll be in Tennessee, Saturday night, Alabama, and then Sunday, Monday, I'll be in Memphis. So pretty much shooting a bunch of shows. And yeah, look for that. And then next week, I'll probably be back on YouTube Live at some point working on some more edits. So again, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, all that shit. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.